we're going to have on the program Kirsten Baesler, Superintendent of Public Schools, and we're going to continue the discussion about Common Core, which, a lot of people are tuned into, a lot of people are engaged in, and some of the things that have been going on, it's gotten a little nasty. And I'm saying that about both sides of this argument. It has gotten ugly in that I think that some of the people opposed to Common Core have said some pretty wild and wacky things about it, I think, that are pretty unfair. I think on the other side, frankly, a lot of people were not very happy about what they heard out of DPI spokesman Dale Wetzel when he was on this program. They were upset. They felt the comments were sort of condescending. So let's clear the air. We're going to have the superintendent's going to be on, and that's what we're going to do. As a matter of fact, Kirsten, thank you so much for your time to come on the program. I really appreciate it.
Rob, thanks for having me on. How's the weather in your neck of the woods? Pretty nice?
We got blue skies, no wind finally, and there's no snow on the ground. So, I'm pretty thankful for that.
That's where I'm at too. It's a good day in North Dakota. Any day without wind is a good day in North Dakota, as they say. Blue skies just add to it.
Yeah. Well, I certainly that's this time of year we'll take what we could get. Kirsten, let me.
Okay.
Sorry. Well, a lot of people. I tell you what, you were going to say something. What was on your mind?
Yeah. I just wanted to say I do appreciate the opportunity to come on and just really clear the air. And I think that, if I may, there are two issues that I think are really important for me to talk about, for the people of North Dakota to hear me say and come from me. I think the first one...
Sure, let's do it. Issue one.
Okay, thank you. I think the first one deals with the explanation and some sort of understanding of what your Say Anything blog article reported yesterday about the article that came out, or the information that came out about Duke Pesta, the person that was speaking in Bismarck last night, will be speaking in Fargo tonight. I think it's really important for me to address that and have people hear this from me.
Sure.
First of all, ever since I was elected in January, or took office in January of 2013, there's been very, very specific protocol and procedure that has taken place in the Department of Public Instruction, where at least two sets of eyes are reviewing, checking for accuracy, verifying facts and the information, the validity of the information, before we send out anything to the field, anything to our field of educators, anything to the media, or really any document that is coming from DPI for informational purposes. Most often, 3 to 5 sets of eyes, 3 to 5 people vet that information to ensure that it really is accurate from all angles and it truly is communicating a message that people can understand and that is giving accurate information. Most of the time, it's either the deputy superintendent, the assistant superintendent, or me that gives that final approval for release. That did not happen with the piece that went out on Duke Pesta on Wednesday. I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday. That process did not happen. The information came from Dale Wetzel, who is, our PIO. It came from Dale Wetzel on a private Gmail account that he created, done on his personal time, and sent during non-work hours. This was not something that was done under the direction of or for DPI. With that being said, I understand that since there is a process and protocol in place for information that comes from DPI, it is my responsibility and solely my responsibility to ensure that that protocol is being followed in all instances and with all employees to avoid any confusion about where this might be coming from. This is my responsibility, and I own that.
Can I ask a couple of...
There hasn't been any type of information that has come out, nor should it come out from the Department of Public Instruction that doesn't have the nd.gov address. That is the address, that is the server given to us as public servants of the state, and that is the address that we have to use and should use and will continue to use.
Let me ask you this question. I assume that you read the material that Mr. Wetzel sent out.
I did. I saw it after it went out, and I have read it.
Okay. If he had brought that to you as something to send out as part of his job to communicate on issues like Common Core, would you have approved that?
That is not, we need to talk about the issues of the Common Core and not the people. This is an emotional issue This is an issue that so many people are passionate about. And it's important for us to discuss the merits of the standards, what's good about them, what's bad about them, what we need for our North Dakota students. And it's important for us to continue to talk of the issues. In defense of how this happened or my employees, I think it's important to know, and you probably know this better as well as anyone, if not better. There are many rude and sometimes outright mean calls. We receive so many calls and emails that are mean and very rude by DPI every week. But I understand that we as public service must rise above that and always remain polite and discuss the issues with civility, not discuss people.
Now, and just to be clear then, if to discuss the issues and not discuss people, do you feel like the documents that Wetzel sent out, would you have approved that to come out of DPI as an official communication?
Not as an official communication. No, I would not have. Okay. I would not have. That didn't have to do with the merits of the standards. I think that it's maybe interesting background information. It may or may not be important to some people, but again, the issue of the Department of Public Instruction is to communicate information, to share facts, and make sure that people have information that they need to make a decision for themselves. So they're hearing both sides and that they can make a decision that's best for our kids based on facts and evidence.
Earlier this week, you had Dale Wetzel appear as the public information officer for the Department of Public Instruction. When he was on the program, he mentioned many of the things that were in the email, suggesting that Mr. Pesta was only in this for the money, that he wasn't trying to oppose Common Core's, he was so much trying to sell his own goods. A lot of stuff like that. Did you hear the audio of that interview, and did you approve of the things that Wetzel said?
Since the airing, I've heard bits and pieces. I can't say that I've sat down and listened from beginning to end. Time and my schedule hasn't allowed that. But I'm glad that I have the opportunity today to speak to WDAY listeners, and to apologize to anyone and all that we may have offended. That is not at all the impression of DPI that I want to give or the message that I want anyone to receive. Many people have heard me say this, but the goal of the department since I took office, the goal for me for our department is to really transform ourselves, to change from what was formerly had a reputation of a very regulatory, punitive agency and become more of a customer service-oriented agency that is the first place that people go, that parents go, that teachers go, that citizens go, that we are the ones that they call for answers and for help. And unfortunately, I don't think that was the message that was received or delivered on Tuesday. As I said, this is an extremely important issue with many passionate people concerned about the issue for many different reasons. And when there is that much commitment and passion on an issue, emotions can run high, but we need to remember that it's about the issue, and we have to stick to those points. I think something that's very important to me is that our students, our children, are really watching us, and they model what we do, and we have to model how to debate issues, how to discuss ideas without becoming angry and without becoming demeaning to each other and rude. And so that's the message, and that's the service that I want to bring to the people of North Dakota, because I think it's better for our state, it's better for our adult citizens, but it is most certainly better for those kids that are looking to us to teach them how to discuss ideas and come up with solutions.
I couldn't agree more with that last, and I would say, because I've seen a lot of the vitriol that's been aimed at you and DPI. People see me on things, people forward me things, I've seen it, and I think both sides of this issue need to just cool down. And you're right, the kids are watching. I mean, they're watching this debate probably more than any other. Let's show them how this is done. We don't have to agree with one another, but I think that we have to have a little bit of respect for one another. Kirsten, I know that you had said to be on for 15 minutes. I had one more question I wanted to ask, but we're up against the break. Can you hold through the break? I can ask you the question. We'll let you go.
Sure thing. Thank you.
All right, Superintendent Baesler, I'm Rob Port sitting in for Jay Thomas. We'll be back right after the news break. Don't go away. Welcome back. Rob Port sitting in for Jay Thomas, and with us, Superintendent Kirsten Baesler. And Kirsten, I said when we went to the break that I had one more question for you, and obviously, we just heard you apologize, I think, for some of the tone of coming out of your office on the Common Core debate, and then also to say that some of the communication coming out outside of the protocols that you've set up for your office. Is there the people that are listening, who may have been upset by some of that, what sort of accountability measures? I mean, is there training? Is there, what sort of response is coming from your office to this?
Well, obviously, it is, as I said, my responsibility to make sure that we tighten up those protocols and those procedures, and that everyone understands that these are what the expectations are. Our PIO, our current PIO has been on the job for 2 months. And so obviously, I visited, with the direct supervisor, his direct supervisor, and his direct supervisor has or will be visiting with him. And obviously some better understanding, and that's where I have to take ownership for that. That's my responsibility to lead. If I didn't set the clear expectations, before, they're certainly set now, and to have some clear communication and understanding that these are the protocols, these are the processes, and we can and do need to do a better job.
Mr. Pesta was in Bismarck last night. I know that Wetzel and some other DPI officials were in attendance at his event. Did you attend the event, and what was your response to it?
Well, I did not. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend the event, and I would have liked to. I believe Mr. Pesta or Duke Pesta is probably a very nice man. Unfortunately, I was out in western North Dakota at one of our western North Dakota schools, and so I had gotten back from that school later than I had expected to, or that I'd wanted to, and didn't allow me to attend last night. But yes, there was the deputy superintendent was there, and our PIO was there.
Wonderful. Any response to it, or any thoughts on the things that being said there, or?
Well, not having been able to hear it firsthand,
okay, sure.
I would hate to comment on it. But as I said, there's people that have passionate, valid reasons for their position on things, and I think that there is real good opportunity for us to come to a solution and have a good conversation about what we can do to move forward. Really, I think what the conversation now begins to turn to, what is it that we want our kids to know and be able to do, and what, if anything, needs to be changed, and what do we do if we decide that needs to be changed? What are the steps? That's where I'd like to see us go.
Do you think that there needs, obviously Common Core is the status quo, and I'm sorry, I had told you one more question and I keep asking questions, so I apologize. If you have to go, let me know, but I did want to ask this. Common Core is obviously the status quo right now. It's very controversial. Is there a point at which you see it as so much of a distraction that it's worth changing?
Well, at this point, it's my statutory responsibility, to ensure that all of our school districts in North Dakota have the English and math standards in place that we've adopted. And when those 60-plus teachers of ours in North Dakota said that these are the standards that should be in place, and they became our standards, I have that responsibility to ensure that they are in place. And I also have a statutory responsibility through North Dakota Century Code that requires that all of our students in grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 be tested on those math and English standards. So until that happens, I think that obviously our students need to keep learning math and English as required by our state legislators. As I've said before, some may have heard it, some haven't, but there's a constant rewriting of our math and English standards, and there has been for the last 3 decades. This will not be the last set of standards of math and English that are in place. They will be rewritten and revised. And so that's the question that we need to be focusing on as we move forward. When we rewrite these, how soon do we want to rewrite them? What's the process? Do we want to do something different than having, 60 of our professionals come together in North Dakota to decide those? What would that process look at? Those are the real big questions that I think are solution-oriented, and we should begin to talk about those.
Legislative session coming up in 2015. Any thoughts on what recommendations you might make on this issue?
Well, again, it is my role to make sure that those standards are in place, and I think legislators, when they ask me, I am clear with them and say they've been clear with us that they have told us that the remediation rates are too high. They've told K-12 that they've heard from business, industry, and higher ed that our kids aren't ready. So I think we need to, I will recommend that we look to a solution that we can reduce those remediation rates, that we can get those kids ready to have credit-bearing classes those first years of college, or they're ready to go to work in a career right away. I would recommend that we continue to look at things that are going to raise the bar. And what we had before obviously wasn't what the people of North Dakota wanted. And we need to lower those remediation rates. So I'll be focused on that in 2015.
Kirsten, thank you for your time. I'll quit abusing the one more question thing. So I certainly appreciate you taking the time to come on and clear the air, and I'm sure the listeners appreciate it as well.
Thank you. You have a nice weekend and enjoy the weather.
You too. Superintendent
Bye-bye.
of Public Schools Kirsten Baesler, 701-293-9000 if you'd like to join the program, 888-9